Our story is amazing, but the short end of it is we were fixed up by my friend Lisa Summerfield and her husband Paul.
Well, it did take 3 years from the initial conversation to the actual, to quote Star Trek, first contact.
In 2011, she came up with the idea, and then in 2013, she revisited the idea, and I reached out to him on Facebook in the middle of the night on Boxing Day, because that's a big holiday in England, so I thought that would be...
Boxing Day is the day after Christmas, for everybody who doesn't know. I had this strange idea to buy Gav one of these Technique Lego things, and I opened it up and I was like, oh my God, I'd literally spent 2 hours already working on something. I looked at Facebook and there was this friend request from Dana that basically said, you don't know me, but I'm a friend of Lisa's. I just said, hey, hi, how are you? And that's it. I think we talked non-stop for the next 2-3 weeks. I think I consumed all of my minutes. This was back in the day when you had to roll over your minutes. So I think I had like 800 rolled over minutes or something crazy. And I think I actually used them all within 2 weeks. We decided that we were going to meet, and the day of the planned meeting, it snowed, or it was a big snowstorm. And me being me, said, look, the weather's not going to be good. If you're not comfortable driving, then, you know, we can do it another day. I don't want anyone getting in accidents or whatever. And actually, knowing how Dana now drives, I was actually doing this whole thing. Then became, oh, fine, you don't want to meet me, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, I want you to be safe. We did actually go and have our first date.
I was going to bring like some sweatpants because he said I could go and meet the dogs. And I said, well, if I go to your house and then I get stuck there in another blizzard, like, you know, I'm going to wear like a dress or something to meet you. So I remember that there was a lot of preamble about, I don't want you to get the wrong idea, but I'm bringing like a change of clothes to this date, which is funny because the date actually lasted 42.5 hours. After maybe the first 8 hours of the date, the Summerfields both texted us separately, and Lisa said, you know, well, after all this buildup, like, how was it? And I texted her back, like, from the middle of Nick's bedroom. I was like, I will let you know when it's over. So 5 seconds later, Nick's phone goes off because now Paul Summerfield is like, wait. And he said, am I gonna be an usher? And it's kind of funny that he talked about a wedding then, because, like, here we are. So we go out, we have these drinks, we fall madly in love. The second we look at each other, it was like almost every man I ever dated flashed before my eyes when I saw Nick, because I was like, this is the answer. I had the most wonderful, overwhelming feeling of calm. He's wearing this light green shirt, which highlighted his green eyes. And like the door opens, I have the scarf and the blizzard and the whatever, and the dry ice. It was like dry ice. It was like out of a movie. And he's sitting there, and we embraced, and that was when I was like so calm, and it was absolute, it was wonderful. So I was like, take me to meet these dogs. So I came here, fell in love with Chaplin, basically told him that his mommy was home, because I just, Nick knew I was gonna love these dogs, and then that was gonna be it. He lured me. So we had a wonderful night, we had drinks, and we hung out, and everything was great. And it was blizzarding, and I didn't drive here, and so I stayed over. So in the morning, he said, do you wanna go to breakfast? And he said, I wanna go to Orham's Diner. Now, Orham's Diner happens to be within spitting distance to my best friend of 27 years' house. So as we were sitting at Orham's Diner having this amazing, you know, I never enjoyed eggs so much in my life, but I said something about, oh, Christine lives near here. It was Nick who actually said, why don't you invite her to breakfast? And I said, like, is this man insane? Like, do they make men like this? Like, what man in the middle of like this long first date is gonna not only say it's okay for my best friend to come to breakfast, but he's gonna like invite her. I don't know a lot of men who would invite their date's best friend to breakfast, and I thought that was really impressive, and I was already head over heels anyway, so.
Yeah, I got you.
was really cool. It was smart. You get in through the best friend. That's the way to do it.
Yeah. I don't like to talk, right? I'm like, if I don't need to talk, I'm not going to. I'd rather build something, make something wherever. I hate group texts, right? I literally will. If I get invited to a group text, you'll see Nick's left the group. I hate it. It's like, sorry, it annoys the crap out of me. So to find someone that you look forward to talking to, and we spent New Year's Eve together on the phone.
6 hours.
Right? And it wasn't like you were trying to make conversation. It just rolled. It was this night, it was, you know...
It always flowed.
It was like a Grateful Dead concert. It just went on. So, you know, meeting her, I was like, it was just like, you know, dotting the I and crossing it. It was what I thought, what I expected. I felt right. And at that point, it was like, okay, I want to meet the people that are close to her.
The fact that we liked the way each other looked when we met was just like he said, crossing the T and dotting the I, because I have this theory that when you meet later in life, as we did, it's not like when you meet in your 20s or 30s, it's just not. And you kind of know exactly what you're looking for, exactly what you don't want, and you come to each other like fully formed with a story. And I heard his story and he heard my story. I know at that point, I was just like, if he's remotely pleasing to the eye, like I'm all set. There was one night in one of the last conversations and I thought we weren't gonna have the date because the blizzards never stopped and the snow never stopped, and I didn't want him to know like what a bad driver I was in inclement weather or ever. And so I was afraid we weren't gonna meet, and then he said something and he said, well, I'm all set. And I was like, what? And he's like, I don't ever have to have another date again. And I was like, wait, what happened here? Like, this was so enjoyable, this was so... And he's like, no, I mean, I'm all set with you. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, unless you show up on this date, Dana, with like 3 heads, I'm all set. We will spend the rest of our lives together and I'm gonna marry you. And I said, well, I kind of agree.
We have this heated conversation as to when Dana moved in. And I would argue that I think she went back to her apartment in Fairfield twice.
It's not true. It's not
And the
true.
second time was to move out, right? That was it. It was just like we wanted to
Yeah.
be together.
To other people at the time, there was a lot of like, put the brakes on. This is his friend Joe, another one in our wedding party. Joe said, so Nick, when is she moving in? And Nick said, she never really left after the first date, so I'm
so
not
we're either
really.
getting married or she's going to rent a room.
That's true, that's true. So I called Christine because she had this thing about wearing navy. Christine always dreamed of wearing a navy bridesmaid's dress. So finally, a couple of weeks had gone by and I was like, all right, you know, I keep mentioning Nick, I keep saying we're talking incessantly, we're seeing each other. So I called her up and she said to me, she said, Lamsey, tell me. And I said, go buy a navy dress. And she was like, what? And I said, she said, for real, real? And I said, I have never been, I get upset. I mean, not upset, just choked up. I said, I've never been more serious in my life. I said, go get the navy dress now. And she was like, oh my God, it's fine. I said, no doubt, no hesitation, no anything. This is where I'm supposed to be. There was this prevailing feeling that you could never describe because I never felt it before, or certainly since. And it was just like so normal and natural that like this was who I was meant to be with all along. So I talked to Christine, I talked to my mother, I talked to people at work a lot. At work, I never shut up about you. But yeah, I told everyone pretty much.
I mean, Gisela and Fernando, because I'd worked with Gisela for years, probably 10, 15 years, and all the time she knew me, you know, it was just me and Gav, and all of a sudden it was like, talking about Dana, and you know, they knew. I told the dogs. I did have a sit down with Chaplin and explain to him changes that could be coming.
They're such like an interwoven part of our story. They always say, you're gonna marry someone just like your father if you love your father the way I did. And Nick is very similar to him in every single good quality that this man had. I have never met a more patient man. He is generous of spirit. He's that guy. He's the guy that, like, men, women, children, small animals,
Big animals.
everyone gravitates towards him. He's brilliant and talented and hysterically funny and the sweetest, biggest heart, and an amazing father. The kind of father that I watched him parent Gavin, and I was just like, you know, he's a better, I used to say he's a better mother than most mothers I know. He's a better parent. He just puts everyone first. You know, all the good stuff. He's everything that I ever wanted.
I knew when I wanted to do it. If I remember rightly, not everyone was turning up on time. So I actually told Christine and Myla that I was going to do it, because I was like, get your cameras ready, and like every time I tried to get it to the point when Dana was in the kitchen ready to go, she'd disappear that way or disappear.
I was hostessing a party.
Then the funny thing was when I got down on one knee and proposed, she started screaming, and then the dogs went nuts. Like I say, I joked that our first contact was Boxing Day, so for me, that is the day we met. And you celebrate with your family.
Yeah.
So it just made sense for it to be that day.
Now it's a big deal because it's the day we first spoke. It's the day we got engaged.
I knew she was going to say yes, because we talked about it. But it's still the right thing to do. I spoke to her mum, and you surprise it, so. Got down on one knee.
Later on, I said to him, I said, you know, that was so not like you. That was so, like, I always thought with Nick, because of who he is, it would be in a very quiet, just me and Nick sitting on the couch or something. I'd be in pajamas. It would still be romantic and wonderful, but it would just be us. And I said, you know, that whole thing, like, that's not like you. Like, what? And the nicest thing in the world when I knew that, again, he really loved me, he said, yeah, but that's you. He said, because you love that stuff. I do a lot of things because I know it's the way he would want it, and he does a lot of things and because of the way I would want it, and it makes us go out of our comfort zone and kind of get on the other person's side a little bit, but it's actually good for us as people. It makes you grow, it makes you, and it's because we really do have like a true desire to do nice things for each other. The best was the way I announced it on Instagram and Facebook. I have a t-shirt that I bought in Target a million years ago when Nick and I were first dating, and it says, I love my boyfriend. That's like a baseball t-shirt, and yeah, it says I love my boyfriend. And I posted the picture, and I made sure to go down like a million lines, because at right under it I said, I used to love this shirt, but Nick has asked me not to wear it anymore. Like, and everyone was like, oh my God, they broke up, and I said, because he finally asked me to marry him, and now he's not my boyfriend, he's my fiance. It was like, so, it wasn't even, I didn't say it like that, it was even shorter, but it was just like, he asked me not to wear it anymore, because he's now my fiance. It was very dramatic, shocker.
I feel like I can do anything, right? I can put up with the crap that goes on in life because I know I've got you. And we do laugh. I mean, you know, that's easy. That's just a sign that you're comfortable with each other. Whether it's the crazy dancing, or it's the singing, or it's just, I love you.
It will sound cliche, but we so meant it. He said something like, you know, are you free for something like that? And I was like, I have just checked my calendar for approximately how many, and this is all in text that I have screenshots of, like, because I'm a hoarder and I will never throw that stuff out because it's too good. But it was really cute, and I'm like, apparently I am free for this 10-year period, and we can have like a renewal after that, like you could re-up, and it was just so, but we like really meant it. Like now I look back and it's kind of like, oh my gosh, who were those people? But those people are still us.
You know what I'm looking forward to?
You having the day you've always dreamed of.
Aww.
I know it's a cliche saying when, you know, someone is your world, but outside of a certain 14-year-old, you are my world. And I do, pretty much everything I do is basically to help your world be better, because that's what you mean to me.
We laugh every day, every morning, every night. We say I love you. I could not count how many times a day, and we mean it every time.
When you have your best friend, and she happens to be female, life's easy.
I guess it's a good idea that we get married. So we really seem to like each other.
Yeah, I mean, I'm available Saturday.
Oh my goodness, so am I.